Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this series where we take apart all the terms you need to stay sane in a narcissistic world. These terms get thrown around a lot. This series is designed to make you and help you understand these words in so many rich ways so that there's no more question. I'm going to give you examples that are relevant to your intimate relationships, your family relationships, and your work relationships. And by the time you understand each of these terms, hopefully they become less of a problem for you. Today we're going to talk about gaslighting. It is a word that everybody is talking about, but not everyone is exactly sure of what it means. And trust me, for those of you who've experienced it, and most of you experienced it, you'll know it when it happens. But simply put, it is having your emotions and your reality denied. So I'm going to run you through some classical statements, the kinds of words people use when they're gaslighting you. So here are some of the classics. Stop being so sensitive. That never happened. I think you may be mentally ill. You need help. Why can't you take a joke? Why are you always so angry? Why can't you let go of the past? No one is ever going to love you the way I do. It doesn't sound like what you just did was that difficult. It sounds like you are exaggerating. I am sorry you choose to make yourself feel that way. There is nothing that warrants you feeling that way. You have no right to feel that way. Actually, you don't really feel that way. Let me tell you how you do feel. Other people have it so much harder than you. Stop being a victim. And to everyone out there on YouTube, if you have some more examples of gaslighting statements you've heard or experienced, please drop them below in the comments, because it's always good for us to keep a library of gaslighting taglines so you know what's happening to you. So exactly what is gaslighting? Let's start with where the term comes from. It originates from a play that later became a film in the 1930s called Gaslight. In the film, the husband keeps turning the old-fashioned gas lights up and down. And when she asks him who is turning the lights up and down, he denies it's happening. He tells her he doesn't think that they're any less bright than they were before. She slowly starts to doubt her own reality. Then she loses her grip on reality, and then she goes insane. Simply put, gaslighting is the doubting of another person's reality, deliberate or not. It can be done by that long variety of phrases that I read to you above. By saying something, then denying it. By promising something and then denying the promise. Over time, the gaslighted person feels confused and full of self-doubt. Gaslighting can be manifested in a variety of ways, so let's break them down. First, let's talk about classical gaslighting. This involves straight-up denial of your reality. That never happened. You have no right to feel that way. Every single narcissistic relationship I have ever worked with, counseled, or consulted on had some gaslighting present. It's a given in a narcissistic or toxic relationship. It results in the narcissist holding all of the power in the relationship because they hold the reality. It leaves you full of self-doubt, second-guessing, confusion, and when you are focusing all of your energies on trying to get your own reality sorted, the narcissist can do a good job of continuing to confuse you. Gaslighting is obviously manipulation, emotional abuse, and it sets a tone for the relationship. One classical book about this is called He Said the Sky Was Purple. And that is how gaslighting works. Not only is your reality denied, you start accepting the reality of the other person. The second kind of gaslighting is withholding. I'm not going to talk to you if you bring that up again. This results over time in silencing yourself in a relationship for fear that your other needs will not be met. Fear, for example, that you will lose the relationship, and then also a pattern of doubting yourself and wondering if there is something wrong with you for bringing up a topic. Anyone who has ever been from a family of origin where this kind of emotional abuse was taking place, or any other physical or sexual abuse, you know this dynamic too well. And for a child to hear that if you bring something up again, that you would lose the love or support or safety of a significant adult, such a parent, it can be terrifying. This kind of gaslighting can result in going into adulthood feeling that you are not allowed to speak about your own needs. And as you can guess, that can be a perfect setup for getting into and staying in a relationship with a narcissist as an adult. The third kind of gaslighting is contradicting. This involves screwing with your sense of reality by telling you that you did not remember a situation correctly. Actually, your mother was at the party, or I met you after my wife moved out of the house, or you had already said that you didn't want to come to my birthday party when I changed the date. Contradicting can leave you wanting to do things like check old emails, voicemails, and text messages. You may look at old photographs to actually confirm whether indeed your mother was actually at the party. You start feeling like a private detective in your own life. The fourth kind of gaslighting is diversion. This involves changing the subject to something that makes them, the narcissist, look good and makes you look irresponsible or like a bad person. For example, I remember that time I had to run to the school to get Johnny when he broke his arm while you were too busy to be there for him because you were at work. Or when you bring up cheating or infidelity, they will then bring up something that you may have felt ashamed about from your past. For example, perhaps you confided in your partner that you once cheated on a high school ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, and they will twist it into that. Or they will try to play the guilt card and bring up their own dramas, their work problems, their health issues, their money problems, and the troubles they're having with their family to garner pity and distract away from a feeling that you are sharing. The fifth type of gaslighting is gaslighting that involves minimization or sort of dampening of your feelings. This is when they will tell you you're being petty for focusing on such a small issue, or trying to make you feel like less of a person while framing it as other people having it so much worse than you. You are really going to stand here in our big, comfortable house that I worked so hard for us and complain that I was flirting with someone when there are people out there that are homeless? By the time you make sense of that, you're like, what?
Over the last 2 months, I've lost about 20 pounds, which blows my mind.
After 3 months, I've actually lost a little over 16 pounds, actually almost 17. I didn't tell you.
Gaslighting is all about moving the goalposts, which the narcissists do all the time. They shift your reality and they change the rules mid-game, or they have one set of rules for themselves and another set of rules for you and other people. When you try to bring up this inconsistency, they will either insult you or label you as petty. In many ways, it can feel really nitpicky. I often say that gaslighting is sort of the way that lawyers argue. They go after that one little thing designed to win the argument. Because for narcissists, it is all about winning. They do not care that it is cruel to you or dissolves the intimacy and closeness in the relationship as long as they win. In one story, a guy was snagged in a parking lot of a motel where his wife had seen the woman she suspected him of having an affair with, and she had seen that woman had gone in earlier. When she confronted him, and in fact could even see the other woman getting into her car on the other side of the lot, she said, "There you go. I finally caught you in bed with your girlfriend." And you know what he responded? He said, "No, you didn't. You just found me in a parking lot, and there's a mall over there. I don't know what your problem is. You need to get some psychiatric help." I suppose legally he was right. She did only see him in a parking lot and only speculated that he was in bed with someone else. But after seeing all the texts and emails and all the rest of it, she knew that wasn't the case. But this is cruel. What he did was cruel, and life is not a court of law. Physical gaslighting happens when physical violence starts to creep into the relationship. This may happen when the narcissistic partner, for example, may strongly grab another person's arm. And when the person whose arm was grabbed reacts to it, the narcissist will say, "Stop exaggerating. It didn't really hurt. Stop being so sensitive." And on top of that, at this point, you're probably often feeling a lot of terror. Two other forms of gaslighting include gaslighting by proxy and gaslighting by tribe. Gaslighting by proxy occurs when someone else does the gaslighting for the narcissist. And since you know how good and how often other people enable narcissists, these enablers become gaslighters for the narcissist as well. Examples of this would be one parent making excuses for the narcissistic parent's behavior. "Your father didn't really mean that." Or other employees in your workplace making excuses for a toxic supervisor. "Hey, listen, we're the most profitable office in the region. He may be a tough talker, but he's just trying to push all of us to be our best." Or the friend of a toxic spouse making an excuse. "Go ahead and give him another chance. He really is a good guy." Gaslighting by tribe is, in essence, a form of enabling. It is when you are faced down by the network of people around you and around the narcissist, and who turn around and tell you that what you are experiencing didn't happen. I have consulted on many cases where people were subjected to invalidation, harassment, intimidation, and other verbal abuse in work settings, and even had solid documentation. In most cases, other people in the workplace were saying things like, "It isn't that bad," or "Her bark is worse than her bite," which is a horrible feeling. Gaslighting by tribe happens in families all of the time, especially when there is abuse. The victim or victims of abuse in a family, or the scapegoats in a family, are not heard. And the family will often close ranks and tell them that they are disloyal for criticizing the father or the grandfather or the aunt or the mother, whomever the perpetrator was. And then they will talk about how lucky they are to be in this family. And obviously, gaslighting by tribe can happen in a couple. Your friends try and minimize how bad your relationship is. For example, they may say things like, "Marriage is hard. All relationships go through rough spots." And most people who gaslight by tribe don't want the inconvenience of your divorce or separation from the family because they don't want to have to choose sides. They don't really care about you. They are doing what works for them.
So if you're dealing with a lot of stress, and who isn't, you're extremely vulnerable to infection. How do we help your body?
Kids are very susceptible to gaslighting because they aren't quite yet cynical enough to understand that people could be this manipulative. Children don't feel safe questioning parents and will often succumb to the skewed reality of the narcissistic parent. Gaslighting bosses can harm your career and your mental health, or you may take the fall for a boss's error or the error of someone that the boss or the workplace wants to protect. While it is happening and everyone is gaslighting you at the same time, you feel like you have walked into the matrix. And when the tribe is gaslighting you, you'll see that you likely will not have a legal leg to stand on to protect yourself. There is a flip side to gaslighting too. You may start gaslighting yourself. After having to numb yourself for so long and to live in confusion for so long, you may find yourself denying your own emotions, saying something like, "I don't feel anything. This isn't upsetting me." After years of being gaslighted, you learn to gaslight yourself. Why do narcissists gaslight? The same reason they do everything. To protect their fragile egos. Other people's realities are a threat to their own. They construct their version of reality that allows them to maintain their false sense of power. And because the narcissist's narratives are inflexible, they are not willing to integrate other people's perspectives, which is why they so often come off as pig-headed and stubborn. If you are in pain and they may be irresponsible, if you are in pain and they may be responsible in part for your pain, they sure as hell don't want to deal with that uncomfortable feeling, so they don't. They simply tell you that you aren't having that feeling, you're not in pain. And their fragility means that they're threatened by other people's feelings and realities. And so they don't make room for them, and they deny them outright. How convenient for them, and how abusive for you. So why do we fall for it? Why do we fall for gaslighting? Why don't we just walk away the first time that someone gaslights us, or say a few choice obscene words to them? There are a few reasons and vulnerabilities. First, if you grew up being gaslighted, you already doubt your reality. After a lifetime of gaslighting, it is almost normalized, and you accept it as part of a human relationship. Second is the fact that most of you are nice people, and you create rationalizations or you offer people second chances, believing that they really didn't or couldn't possibly mean it. Third, for too many people, especially those who are frightened of abandonment or just do not recognize their own reality, there is the fear of losing the narcissist if you call them out. Or at least you may be concerned about being perceived as arrogant or narcissistic yourself if you actually said something. Fourth, most people don't know gaslighting is a thing, and after seeing this video, you no longer have that excuse. It is a classical form of emotional abuse, and yet we don't tell and teach people about it. Most people, when I point out to them that they were gaslighted, they'll say, "What's that?" And then, in a matter of minutes, 30 years of a confusing marriage starts to make sense. So what are we supposed to do if we're gaslighted? Obviously, in the best case scenario, you see it as the red neon flag that it is, and you walk away. That's not always an option. So I tell people to internally stand their ground. As always, don't get in the mud with them. Don't defend yourself. Don't react. Just learn that little Mona Lisa smile. Reveal nothing on your face. Give a little head bob, like that. And do not give up on your own reality. Hold it internally and make a mental note that you were just gaslighted. Once a person does it once, they will do it again.
I've been on Noom for 4 months, I've lost 27 pounds, and I feel like I got my life back.
I've been on Noom.
It is a wake-up call that you should not share your vulnerability with this person. You shouldn't share your intellectual property or your fears or anything. They will weaponize all of it and use it against you. What shouldn't you do? Don't try to bring them over to your way of thinking. That is a mistake that many people make in narcissistic relationships when they're being gaslighted. Everyone wants to explain themselves to the narcissist, and then they think everything will be okay. This is a huge mistake to do this. Narcissists are masters at gaslighting, and they don't give a darn about your reality. Once you pull out your phone to show them the text messages that show them that they were gaslighting you, they don't step back and say, "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry, you were right, I did say that." Instead, they'll double down and gaslight you some more and tell you that you are a petty little person who fights dirty, and that in fact, they're doing you a favor by putting up with your sorry, pathetic self. So now, you just got gaslighted twice. Don't explain yourself. And then there's what I call the gaslighting test. One surefire way that you know you're being gaslighted. You want to know how that works? When you start pulling out text messages, emails, and voice recordings during arguments on a regular basis to make your point, you know you're being gaslighted. You start recording everything because you don't trust yourself anymore, because your reality has been confused many times. Once you start doing that, you know you're being gaslighted. If you are being gaslighted, then you are being emotionally abused. If you can't leave, at least be aware that this is a real thing and that it's happening, and find other sources of support to be accurate mirrors and reality checks. Stop handing your reality over to the narcissist. And then, the next time they say the sky is purple, just smile at them. Just smile at them in that sad way. We smile at people who just don't get it and say, I'm sure it'll be a mighty nice sunset tonight. And then wink at that blue sky above you and own that it is blue. Your reality is sacred. Don't pawn it off on a narcissist. Thank you again for tuning in. Hit the bell and subscribe because we've got episodes coming out daily. And you can also go back and watch this entire series. There'll be no word that's relevant to narcissistic relationships that you will not be a master of. Thanks again.